So the foot is made of arches, and people count the arches differently, and some people count it up to 7 or 9 or something. I'm going to talk about 3. So the first one is what I'm calling the long arch of the foot. So I call it the long arch because it runs the length of the foot. Maybe someone else calls it the long arch, I can't remember. As you might notice, I'm less interested in names and biomechanical facts. I like to use biomechanical facts, but what I'm more interested in is the feeling and the sensation, truly the embodiment of the foot, not so much what scientists or doctors even would tell us about it. Those facts are useful to me insofar as I can embody them. So, the long arch of the foot is going to start at the heel and it's going to run to the toes. Now, if you look at the side, it's pretty clear that it's there. Now, this foot is not being weighted, right? So, if I just let my foot hang, it's probably got more of an arch, and then when I put it flat, that arch is going to flatten a little bit. Now, we could break that arch into 2, right? We could think about the outside arch, which is a little lower, and then we could think about the inside arch, which is a little higher. And then we could even talk about like a crossways long arch, and this is actually how I first introduced it when we were looking at this space in the heel bone, because that space in the heel bone is kind of running in a diagonal. In some sense, it's a diagonal section of this long arch. So you really can't get a great sense for the bony part of the arch until you have a foot model in your hand, because most of the bottom is full of fascia and ligaments and muscles. But you can still, of course, on your foot feel that these arches exist. So I encourage you to feel those 3 aspects of the long arch of the foot. So you can feel the inside part, you can feel the outside part, and then you can feel this part that starts on the inside of the heel and runs kind of diagonally towards the 4th or the 5th toe. You can think about those 3 sort of spanning arches. All of those together are what I'm calling the long arch of the foot. So just take some time to feel that on your own body. And then on the other foot, I have the inside and the outside. And you know, we could really think about 5 following those rays. Or if we did it in terms of the cuboid and the cuneiforms, that would be 4, right? The outside 2 rays, the outside 2 metatarsals would be just 1 arch because they connect just to the cuboid. Or we could think about it as 2 arches in terms of the navicular and the cuboid and how those send the energy forward. And that would be more in line with this idea of the heel foot and the ankle foot. There's lots of ways to think about it. And then the last way I'm going to offer you is the thinking about moving the finger under the sustentaculum tali, which is filled with muscles, so you can't really get a great feeling for this part, but thinking about coming under there and crossing diagonally towards the 4th or 5th toe. And in some ways, to me, this feels like the truest, it's really not a good word to use, but it feels like the truest representation of that arch. And I say that purely subjectively because of what I feel. Because as I make that line, that inside cutting under of the heel bone, and then moving out to the outside of the foot, it simply corresponds to how I feel my foot as it rests on the floor. And then you can just think about just taking your hand on the whole base of the foot and just thinking about that one single long arch of the foot, moving from heel bone. So I have one bone in back to the front, the metatarsals, the distal heads of the metatarsals, I have 5 bones. So it's going 1 to 5, essentially. So that pyramidal spreading shape that I keep talking about from foot to hip joint is also happening in the long arch of the foot. That there is a spreading that goes from 1 to 2 to 4 to 5. 1 to 2 to 4 to 5. So the heel bone to the navicular cuboid, to the cuboid, the end of the cuboid cuneiforms, to the 5 metatarsals. And then the extensions, right, of the toes. Interesting that you can look at the toes and realize now that there's another arch between the far heads of the metatarsals and the toes. And so you can feel into those arches of the foot that run in line with the long arch of the foot. And then I will think about the arch of the foot, but touch the top. Wrapping all the way over my toes. There you have the long arch at the foot. If you enjoyed this video, sign up for the InBody Space newsletter and share the link with a friend. You can also find original content on Facebook and Instagram.